Welcome to Progressive Alternative with Victor Monjaras. I'm Victor Monjaras. This is a video, of course, about the Democratic debate that just happened yesterday at this time because I'm not able to basically do one that's immediate, and plus the whole internet issue tends to be quite waffly. But yeah, finally getting this in, and uh, it was a pretty feisty debate. That much I can definitely say that it was quite intense and very well adequated between basically all of the candidates that were basically participating in it. And unfortunately, there were some people that were very terrible at it. They were, and of course, some that just, or a couple that had just outstanding nights. Anyway, so MSNBC was hosting it. MSNBC is not exactly known to actually deliver the best of performances, though they did have that one earlier last year about having an all-female moderation team asking the questions. So this time it was Lester Holt, who was very cool. I know I'm just saying that because I might be saying that because I'm a Sac State alumni there, though he did graduate from a different school as well after Sac State. And then, of course, we have and basically the rest of the Monterey panel, and even two local newscasters who were quite popular with them. I believe the dude that was from the Nevada Independent, he was quite very popular, and I've heard a little bit of his work, and he was pretty well done, especially with the fracking question. Um, and of course, unfortunately, Chuck Todd was there, and he's just don't really like how he lines up his questionings and tries to take control of the debate. He didn't do a very good job of doing the debate. Very nice little scenery for Las Vegas since they're doing the Nevada caucuses there pretty soon. Was actually supposed to go to Vegas this weekend for my birthday. I'm 29 now, so that was nice, but unfortunately didn't do that. I guess for some familial concern between everyone else, it's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna. I guess we're not doing that. So anyway, it was quite just something. Could have been nice to see what was happening in the producer's stand line, but all right, I'll be here and trying to do something while I wait for those results. Anyway, so the candidates there was not Tom Steyer this time. Instead, a different billionaire, Mr. Michael Bloomberg. Now, all the attacks on him were basically pretty spot on, including Elizabeth Warren being another one that was in the debate stage, Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, and of course, Bernie Sanders. Just basically everyone went after Bloomberg. Now, the level of degree that each candidate displayed was quite foretelling. It's like Biden basically only points out his mistakes, and even one time actually, because his when he was serving with Obama in the administration, there they were basically tasked with looking ahead on basically on like the last few years of Bloomberg's tenure as the New York City mayor, which, of course, I guess there's a reason why Bloomberg never really debated again for an entire 10 years. Basically, just being a billionaire and just, giving money away. And just the lining of his questions every time when he was asked about the making the workplace uncomfortable, making the whole stop and frisk complications, what his views are and why he supported. Basically, because you're running in the Democratic primary, people want to know why you supported the Republican incumbent president and United States senators in that four line. And his answers were very stupid, very lazy. It wasn't even very well component. You would think that someone with so much money, so much resource, so much in order to absorb everything into the whole fabric of operative around the country, you would think you would be more prepared and better coached to actually be prepared for these type of questions, and with the best answer to say, yeah, at least he's answering them authentically to the extent of, oh yeah, I'm making amends for my mistakes, or anything. But he didn't own up to it. He just basically says, "Oh, I'm sorry it turned out this way," and but oh yeah, we kind of did some. I did something about it. It was always him eyes, kind of like Biden. He did that too again, and they. I hear a lot of pundits always saying, "Oh yeah, this was one of his best debates." Well, yeah, I guess if you're coming from basically the bottom, you can only go up at least at some point, and then look at later on with my rankings, you'll see that oh look, someone who's a lot more worse than Biden is finally here. Buttigieg was there. He did what he could. Anything like he owns the whole mastery of what conservatives would use their whole words of freedom, spirit, liberty, and he is able to twist those words around to basically help out the Democratic side. The problem is what happens afterward when he gets criticized, when he gets to basically trying to promote something more than himself, and it's a shame that he's not able to really convene a lot more about and this may have been because of the moderators. They didn't ask as much well-rounded questions of that could relate to basically everything. But again, it's like 2 hours. It was a 2 hour debate, surprisingly so, a 2 hour debate this time around. But to be fair, they will basically have another debate in about 5 days, which is basically about 2 days after the Nevada caucus, and then they have to go into South Carolina. And CBS News is actually doing that one, and I'm looking forward to that because their team is just very well developed and just knows what to do. I hope they're, and I've hear pretty neat, amazing things from them, almost to the level of PBS News. And so, but here with MSNBC, it's like, it was horrible because Chuck Todd. It was mostly Chuck Todd who just dragged everything down. He can't, alongside with Bloomberg and even to an extent Biden, he cannot do anything pretty well. It was just horrible to see that he can't deliver follow-up questions effectively. He can't control the crowd. I wish they kind of actually reinforced the rule like, oh yeah, you guys are all talking, everyone's talking. It's like, just cut off the mics. Cut off the mics if they're breaking the rules. And especially if they go over the time limit, just cut off the mic. Enforce the rules, please. Someone. Anyway, so basically, they go throughout the night. There wasn't really much of a mention about gun violence because of the whole incident that happened down there in Las Vegas when the whole mass shooting that occurred nearby there that took about 51 lives. I'm sorry if I don't get those numbers right because it's like I guess that was basically in my memory because I was basically spattered upon much more when I was listening to public radio, and I just hear the tragedy of this, and it's like it was tragic, and unfortunately it wasn't really discussed as much. Though of course Biden did make something of an assessment at the end. Basically at the end when he was basically trying to attack Bernie because he voted for a bill that basically forces people to sue manufacturers of guns and not organizations that promote basically rapid gun usage without regulations. But anyway, it was one of those things that Bernie did say that, yeah, it's I don't blame families if they want to sue them, but I do not want to just basically open up the gateways because it's going to also hurt local businesses as well that are trying to be as honest as they can be when they're keeping records with people who own guns. And but it was just quite significantly very important for them. And there was also important for the people in Nevada, especially the questions that were asked by the local reporters, is that, oh yeah, yeah, we have a climate change issue. It's also affecting our people of color communities, such as the Latino, Latinas, and African American communities around here that have to deal with fracking, that have to deal with basically, if I'm not mistaken, like dirty air and just not really living very comfortably. And that was basically an important issue. And Bernie came out pretty significantly well, especially just saying a yes or no question about, oh yeah, do you still support that banning of fracking? It's like, yes. And it's like banned on fracking because it, oh, what do you... And that was one of those questions that I got pissed off with Chuck Todd about. It's like, oh, what? I was told by an executive, how am I going to tell my employees their jobs are cut? It's like, how are you going to tell them that their jobs are cut? And it's like, well, and then he just says, yeah, well, it's about saving the planet. It's about making sure that even though you have a job, you at least have a job that doesn't kill you, instead of making you just suffer with low wages and lower union participation. And of course, because transitioning from that job that basically is banned now into a much more better efficiency job that is similar to it. So basically, it was quite a. At least the candidates were able to just go out there and make everything possible and make everything really mean much, because they know everything is riding on these next two states, Nevada and South Carolina. And basically everyone's down to like the elite 8 candidates. The only two that didn't make the stage were Tulsi Gabbard and Tom Steyer. They, for some reason, you would think that Tom Steyer, with his millions and almost close to billions, would have been able to get to that debate. But unfortunately, not being able to poll at 10% is kind of a downer, especially in polls that I guess they don't approve of. And Tulsi, yeah, can't poll it. And unfortunately, they got rid of that individual contributors rule just for Michael Bloomberg to finally get in. And, well, DNC, you fucked up on that one. Anyway, enough of that aside, or at least maybe I might go more into it, but whenever the chance comes upon. It was just quite a fierce debate that just was just very well-rounded. There was like a little bit of debates about, oh, should we actually have these debates as themed debates, like one that is just all about climate change, one all about gun violence prevention, one all about racial justice. And I really like those. So I would really enjoy seeing those. Of course, it would be quite hard to pull off. They should have actually done those in the early, like make those the first 5 debates, because it's still well-rounded. It's like it's not specifically focused on a incoming voting state. Now they could do something like that, like in a town hall forum, like maybe CNN, because they have a lot of money to do that, and everything else they can basically make it all about that. They did that, and CNN did that for the climate change town hall, which was basically almost 9 hours. This was like, I guess they had invited about eight or 9 candidates in that stage. And that could be something you could work with, especially in different states, especially with those Super Tuesday states coming along. And I already filled out my ballot, and I already got it to the mail, and I think you can possibly tell who I voted for. So, basically, Amy Klobuchar was pretty livid. They asked her about that Mexican president, and she wasn't able to just answer and just basically say, "Oh yeah, I do a bunch of things. I'm in that committee." Even Buttigieg basically points that out to her, that, oh, he should have known the name. She should have known something. And we have to take you seriously as a commander-in-chief with your foreign policy. And it's like she basically almost cries to the extent that I guess in that complaint about, are you calling me dumb? And it's just like, Amy, you need, first of all, just say his name. It's Andrades Lopez Manuel Obrador. That's the Mexican president. You're trying to appeal to people like me. Ouch. I had to hurt myself there. And basically know that they're our next door or basically below neighbor down there. You should have freaking known. I don't understand how you didn't know that name. So, does she take any? And of course, Elizabeth Warren, the very kind-hearted woman she is. I don't know why I'm saying it sarcastically. Basically, our little Asna here. She's just like, yeah. She tells to just back off. It's like, yeah, just because she couldn't know that name that one time. Shouldn't mean that she's disqualified or anything for overall. Nah, yeah. For me, it's like, yeah, that shouldn't automatically disqualify her. Let's look at the rest of her record. She kind of has some kind of shady votes on basically the trade pacts and whether it actually helped out our farmers or workers and unions and environmental rights with those trade agreements. And it's like, yeah, she's shaky on that again. Even though I call her the Mariola of that, she was not, unfortunately, not like Mariola that night. She just really was tampered down. I think like if it wasn't for that New Hampshire performance, she would have not been. She would have not done anything well in New Hampshire and would have most likely dropped out. But here she is. Couldn't really keep that momentum up. Or as they kept, I'm not going to do that, the whole cliche and all rhythm thing there. But I will say that she just wasn't able to keep it up. Pete, still, yeah. And Biden, I wonder why the hell he hasn't dropped out yet. But then again, I remember, oh yeah, South Carolina, that's his firewall. And so basically it all went pretty, every candidate was just slugging it out and making everything of their case. Bernie was basically consistent and able to really deliver onto a tone that was quite, even when he was asked about or basically criticized about, oh yeah, you have 3 homes. It's like, well, yeah, he needs at least 1 home for Washington D.C., his home for his home in Vermont. And I've actually seen it. I haven't been to Vermont, but of course I do see pictures of it, and there are videos of him going out of his house. And he has a summer camp house, which isn't really that expensive. And it's like, oh, really? Okay, that's simple. Like he has a huge family. It's like, just saying. It's like, it's not like he's basically doing evil things in that house and like throwing out Native Americans and tenants out of there. It's like, that was he able to bring upon. It's like he can do good with basically enough resources and to do much more. And at least most of these candidates are going around the country because I'll get more into that when I talk about my rankings. And so Bernie was just much more consistent. He wasn't as fierce or loud or as much more anthropomorphic, now being labeled as the front runner, because apparently people in the candidates were kind of just like really stating like, oh yeah, it's like we don't want to leave it up to the hands of the people to elect our nominee, which was kind of one of the, it wasn't directly the question, but it was something about the whole delegate math and contested, and it's like, that was kind of the signal there that you were like, oh yeah, yes, I want to get it to super delegates, and it's like Bernie just says, no, I don't want it to leave it up to super delegates. It's the people vote for the Democratic nominee. And so, it's kind of very foretelling, and I guess you can understand why I picked what I picked. And so, otherwise, it was just a shaky debate. I should have been outdoors, by the way, too. That would have been lights out. People were participating. That the audience was participating so much, so loudly. Even people being really fanfaring of one of their local reporters, and that's always an amazing thing to see there. So anyway, what do I give it? I give it a C plus. C plus. Wasn't horrible. Just like Chuck Todd, please get off. Chris Matthews, I'm just gonna throw his name in there because he was there. He was around. He was like in the post one, and he does not know how to handle an interview as well, especially around women. I worry about that so much. So anyway, just I'm looking forward to the next one. CBS News actually is quite more formidable. Has a little bit of personality, but still is able to get into the heart and nitty and don't usually go for the clickbait stuff. But of course, it's the day of news media. You gotta get something for clickbait. At least they work for it and don't be lazy about it. Anyway, here's my rank choice. Since there's only 8, number 8, Michael Bloomsburg. Yeah, not really gonna cut it. Sorry. Next time. Maybe not at all. Just go back and spend billions on supporting United States Senate candidates or House of Representatives or city council races, supervisor races that could help out curb the gun violence massive problem with that, and basically taking on those type of efforts if you really care about that. No more. Please stop. I get it. He'll be back because he can afford to do that. Number 7, Biden. Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah, so Biden's finally rose in my like one spot. But again, you can only go up at least. But how much? Yeah, he still can't be a little bit more receptive and not friendly and just like he's not charismatic anymore. I don't care what South Carolina basically is gonna try to offer him. It's like, oh yeah, he can appeal to that. Yeah, he can. But in recent polls, his lead is starting to slip because now they're seeing, okay, what can you do more than just being drunk now? Can you actually, what happens after? People are starting to finally ask that question too. Like, what happens afterward? Especially with my generation around there. And basically, he's just not able to do very well on that line. Number 6, Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg, just yeah, he's got my respect for actually saying that. Oh yeah, Bloomberg is trying to buy the Democratic nominations. Like I respect him for that. Unfortunately, he doesn't. He keeps saying, "Oh yeah, I accept their money. I accept the rich people's money." And it's like it's like yeah, they're part of this. Yeah, you can make them part of your plan and make them part of basically of the country. But unfortunately, if you let them influence you too much, then your policy is going to only favor their perspective, as history has shown. I mean, can you actually do that? And you might face a backlash of, oh yeah, we're not going to donate to you anymore because we're not. You don't want to help us out. It's like, can you handle that? And Buttigieg, I don't think he can. Number 5, that would be Tom Steyer. Tom Steyer was pretty high on my basically list, and he was helping out. He basically said very amazing things about Bernie, and basically trying to help out the other candidates down, and of course talking about reparations too, which basically is a long needed conversation about African Americans being basically slaves and paying them back for all that pain and trying to help them a lot more out, and even the systematic racism that goes on to this day. And but the Steyer has been kind of against Bernie lately, and he's just like, and he still hasn't fulfilled his promise that he made to me about supporting down the ballot candidates, and he hasn't done anything on that. So that was kind of a little times to go down there. Number 4, that would be Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar. Just was shaky. I get it. She's a Midwestern appeal there, but if she can't get anything much more than basically being charismatic and being a more authentic to turn out the youth vote and to help out the environmental, because she didn't want to ban fracking totally, even though the science says that contributes to climate change. Yeah, that's gonna take a notch down there. Tulsi Gabbard. Number 3, oh look, she's all the way back in my top three, which she was like in almost near the start of the whole basically primary process. And yeah, she keeps it steady. She's actually visiting more of the states in Maine and Virginia, because those are also the same states are visiting on Super Tuesday, as well as California here and Texas, Americans abroad, American Somalians as well. And so keep it up. Has the honesty. But unfortunately, she's most likely gonna drop out after Super Tuesday, which is almost a shame. But unfortunately, because if all you do is just criticize, and don't really bring up a new plan much more into the forefront, you're not going to be able to grind much more past, and especially because you're taking on basically these next two basically progressives. Elizabeth Warren, number two, who is quite formidable. She had a fiery night back then. She needed that night. She needed that Bloomberg to basically make her look very well, as she called him an egomaniac billionaire, which was awesome. We love her for it. And yeah, definitely I'll keep on helping her out. And, just like I try to, do the whole pledging to support any candidate that basically becomes the nominee. And so basically I was pretty encouraged. Elizabeth just did very well. Still continues to just have her plans basically on any campaign headquarters anywhere in the country when they go out canvassing, and it's remarkable. She keeps that going. But number one, Bernie Sanders, of course, consistent, able to really convene that, sure, I may wanting be talking about climate change, but it also is because instead of the racial question, so but that also hurts the African Americans and Latinas and Asian Americans much more than it does than basically Caucasian Americans that basically seem to be only offended but don't really care. And it's just strikingly important that Bernie does care, and that he's gaining this much momentum. And he basically, this matchup between Bernie and Bloomberg is not really a matchup against Trump. Because they keep telling me that all that matters is beating Trump, but he keeps saying it's more than just beating Trump, which is something also Cory Booker basically pointed out, because Trump's the ceiling, or at least he's like very low, and we have to think bigger, because that's how you bring out the vote. And that's how you basically make sure that you make these elections matter. So basically getting ready for the next debate. Looking forward to caucus. Going to see how it transpires. If you like, share, want to leave a comment, agree, disagree, leave it down below. Basically, keep following me on my Twitter handle at Journeyman15, Journeyman15, and yeah, that's basically what I had to think. Okay debate, not the most fantastic MSN national moderators, though the reporters were well-founded, well-loved, well-received, well-honored, well-earned, by the way. And candidates were just on fire. Really love to see it. Hopefully hopefully the next set of debates is just quite as enthusiastic and well-rounded, because that is what the Democratic Party is. It's democracy. We have discussions. We have respecting and honest debates about this. That's what a debate is about. So next time, this has been Progressive Alternative with Victor Monjaras. I'm Victor Monjaras, and you have a very fantastic night. Got it. Nailed it. Yes.